The rain poured relentlessly over the streets of New York City, washing away the day's grime as Marcus Jenkins hurried toward the subway entrance. A 32-year-old construction worker with calloused hands and tired eyes, Marcus was just another face in the crowd, another story untold. He'd been working double shifts for months trying to save enough to help his mother with her mounting medical bills. As he rushed down the wet steps of the 14th Street station, his boot kicked something that skidded across the concrete. In the dim light, Marcus spotted a sleek leather wallet lying abandoned on the ground. He picked it up, glancing around for its owner, but the late evening crowd had already thinned. Opening it cautiously, Marcus found several credit cards, a few $100s in cash, and a California driver's license. His heart nearly stopped when he saw the name and the familiar face in the photo. Keanu Reeves. "No way," Marcus whispered to himself, rain dripping from his hard hat as he stared at the license in disbelief. Marcus knew what many would do: take the cash, maybe sell the story to tabloids, or post about it online for instant fame. The money alone would help with next month's rent, but something in him couldn't do it. His mother's voice echoed in his mind. "Your character is defined by what you do when no one is watching." And right now, no one was watching. Marcus missed his train that night. Instead of heading home to his cramped Brooklyn apartment, he searched online for information about why Keanu Reeves might be in New York. According to an entertainment site, the actor was filming scenes for his latest movie in Manhattan's Lower East Side. The next morning, exhausted from a restless night, Marcus called in sick to work for the first time in 3 years. He couldn't focus on construction beams and safety protocols when Keanu Reeves' wallet was sitting on his kitchen table like some surreal movie prop. "This is crazy," he muttered to himself as he dialed the number for the production company mentioned in the article. After being transferred 5 times and nearly hanging up twice, Marcus finally reached someone who didn't think he was a crazed fan making up stories. "I have Mr. Reeves's wallet," he explained to a skeptical production assistant. "I found it at the 14th Street subway station last night. I just want to return it." "We get calls like this all the time," the assistant replied coldly. "How do I know you're telling the truth?" Marcus described the contents of the wallet in detail, carefully avoiding looking at the private information inside. "Hold on," the assistant said, suddenly taking him seriously. 20 minutes later, Marcus had instructions to meet someone from the production team at a coffee shop near the filming location. As he showered and put on his cleanest shirt, Marcus wondered if he'd actually meet Keanu himself or just hand the wallet to some security guard. Either way, he knew he was doing the right thing, even if it cost him a day's wages he desperately needed. The coffee shop was busy with the morning rush when Marcus arrived, the wallet securely in his jacket pocket. He ordered the cheapest item on the menu, a plain black coffee, and waited nervously at a corner table as instructed. After 30 minutes of watching the door, Marcus was beginning to think he'd been stood up when a tall man in a baseball cap and sunglasses walked in. Despite the disguise, there was no mistaking him. Keanu Reeves himself had come. The actor scanned the room before a production assistant pointed toward Marcus. When Keanu approached the table, Marcus stood up so quickly he nearly knocked over his coffee. "You must be Marcus," Keanu said, extending his hand. His voice was exactly as it sounded in movies, but quieter, more reserved. "Yes, sir," Marcus replied, suddenly aware of his worn jeans and faded work shirt. "I found your wallet last night." As they sat down, Marcus handed over the wallet, explaining how he'd found it at the subway station. "Everything's still there," Marcus assured him. "I didn't take anything." Keanu opened the wallet, quickly confirming its contents before looking up with genuine gratitude in his eyes. "Thank you," he said. "You know, not everyone would have done this." Marcus shrugged. "My mom raised me right." Something about that simple statement seemed to resonate with Keanu. Instead of leaving immediately, he asked Marcus if he had time for another coffee. "I called in sick today," Marcus admitted with an embarrassed smile. "So yeah, I've got time." What was supposed to be a quick thank you turned into an hour-long conversation. As the morning crowd thinned out, Keanu and Marcus sat in their corner, talking not about movies or fame, but about life. Marcus found himself telling Keanu about his mother's battle with cancer, how he'd been working extra shifts to help with her medical bills, and how sometimes it felt like he was barely keeping his head above water. "She raised me alone after my dad left," Marcus explained. "Now it's my turn to take care of her." Keanu listened intently, occasionally asking questions that showed he was truly paying the attention. There was something about his presence that made Marcus feel comfortable, like talking to an old friend rather than a Hollywood star. "You know, I lost my sister to leukemia," Keanu shared quietly. It takes so much from families." The conversation shifted to happier topics. Marcus's dream of starting his own construction company someday, Keanu's love of motorcycles, their shared appreciation for New York's architecture. When Keanu finally had to leave for filming, he shook Marcus's hand again, holding it a moment longer this time. "You've reminded me of something important today," he told Marcus. "Thank you for that, and for the wallet." As Marcus watched him leave, he felt a strange mix of emotions. The encounter seemed surreal, like something that happened in movies, not in real life. He never expected to connect with someone like Keanu Reeves, never imagined the actor would take time to listen to his story. What Marcus didn't know was that their conversation had stirred something in Keanu, a decision that would change both their lives forever. 3 days later, Marcus was back at work, secured by safety lines 40 stories above Manhattan. The brief encounter with Keanu had already begun to feel like a dream, something he'd tell as an anecdote for years to come, when his phone vibrated. In his pocket during lunch break, the unknown number almost made him ignore it. Spam calls were constant these days. "Hello," he answered reluctantly. "Is this Marcus Jenkins?" a professional female voice asked. "Yes, who's calling?" "My name is Sarah Mitchell. I'm Mr. Reeves's personal assistant. He asked me to contact you regarding a private matter." Marcus nearly dropped his sandwich over the edge of the building. "Is something wrong with the wallet?" he asked, confused. "No, nothing like that," Sarah replied. "Mr. Reeves would like to meet with you again if you're available. He has a proposition he'd prefer to discuss in person." The next day, Marcus found himself in a private room at an upscale restaurant in Tribeca, feeling completely out of place among the fine dining setups and expensive artwork. When Keanu arrived, he was dressed casually, somehow making Marcus feel more at ease. After brief pleasantries, Keanu got straight to the point. "I've been thinking about your mother's situation," he said, "and I'd like to help." Marcus immediately stiffened. "That's very kind, but I wasn't telling you all that to ask for—" "I know you weren't," Keanu interrupted gently. "That's exactly why I want to help. Look, I've been fortunate in my life and I believe in paying it forward. I've done this kind of thing before, just not publicly." He slid a folder across the table. Inside was information about a specialized cancer treatment program at one of the best hospitals in the country. "I'd like to cover your mother's treatment here," Keanu explained. "The doctors are experts in her specific type of cancer." Marcus stared at the papers, unable to process what was happening. "Why?" was all he could say. Keanu was quiet for a moment. "Because you did the right thing when no one was watching, and because I know what it's like to watch someone you love suffer from this disease." The folder sat on Marcus's kitchen table, for 2 days untouched, like some kind of moral test he wasn't sure how to pass. His pride warred with his practical side. The treatment program Keanu had suggested was far beyond anything his mother could access through her insurance. It represented hope they couldn't afford on their own. During his evening visit to his mother's apartment in Queens, Maria Jenkins immediately sensed something was bothering her son. "What's on your mind, mijo?" she asked, using the Spanish endearment she'd called him since childhood. Marcus had told her about finding the wallet and meeting Keanu, but not about the offer. Now sitting in her small living room surrounded by family photos and the scent of her favorite jasmine candles, he finally explained everything. Maria listened quietly, oxygen tubes in her nose, her once strong hands now thin and pale. "When," he finished, she reached for his hand. "And you're struggling with this because of your pride?" she asked directly. "It's not just pride, Mom. I don't know. It feels wrong somehow. We don't know him. We're not charity cases." Maria's eyes, still bright despite her illness, fixed on her son's face. "When your father left, I was too proud to ask for help. I worked 3 jobs instead of accepting help from my family. Do you know what that pride cost us? Time together." She squeezed his hand. "Sometimes the bravest thing isn't refusing help, it's accepting it when it's offered with a good heart." That night, Marcus called the number Sarah had given him. "We accept," he said simply. "And thank you." What followed was a whirlwind of activity. Within 2 weeks, Maria Jenkins was admitted to the specialized treatment center. The staff never mentioned how her care was being paid for, maintaining the privacy Keanu had requested. The treatment was aggressive, the side effects brutal. Marcus took family leave from work to be with his mother. During the worst of it, on the 3rd week, when Maria was too weak to sit up, Marcus found a package at her door. A collection of her favorite classic films, a soft blanket, and assorted comfort items. The only note read, "Sending strength, KR." Twice during the 3-month treatment, Marcus received text messages from Keanu himself, checking in without intrusion, offering support without pity. There was something profoundly decent about how he handled everything, his generosity coming without spotlight or expectation of gratitude. Maria's oncologist was cautiously optimistic. The cutting-edge immunotherapy, still in its clinical trial phase and normally inaccessible to patients without significant financial resources, was showing promising results. Her tumor markers were decreasing for the first time in years. One evening, as Marcus sat beside his sleeping mother, he received another text message. "Some good news to share. Can we meet tomorrow?" The next day, at a quiet park bench overlooking the East River, Keanu explained that he'd established a foundation that helped cover medical expenses for people with financial need, focusing particularly on cancer patients. "I'd like to offer you a job," he said, surprising Marcus once again. "The foundation needs someone who understands construction to help with our housing assistance program, renovating homes for patients who need accessibility modifications. Someone with both technical skills and empathy." "Why me?" Marcus asked, though the question was softer this time, less defensive. "Because you have both qualities in abundance," Keanu replied simply, "and because I trust you." 6 months later, Maria Jenkins sat in her apartment, her hair growing back in soft silver curls, her strength slowly returning. Her latest scans showed no detectable cancer. Not a cure, her doctors cautioned, but a remission that offered precious time and hope. Marcus had accepted the job with the foundation, taking a leap of faith that transformed his daily life. Instead of hanging steel 40 stories up, he now coordinated renovation projects for families dealing with medical crises, making their homes accessible and comfortable during treatment and recovery. The salary was more than fair, the work deeply satisfying. For the first time in years, Marcus felt the crushing weight of financial stress lift from his shoulders. What surprised him most was how Keanu stayed connected to the foundation without seeking publicity for his involvement. He visited project sites occasionally, always treating everyone with the same genuine respect Marcus had experienced in that first coffee shop meeting. "He's not what you'd expect," Marcus told his mother one evening as they shared dinner in her apartment. "Most people aren't, if you give them the chance to show who they really are," Maria replied wisely. What neither of them knew was that Keanu had been inspired by Marcus in ways that would soon become clear. The story might have ended there, a simple act of kindness rewarded, a life changed through generosity. But it didn't. A year after finding the wallet, Marcus was overseeing a major renovation project for the foundation when Keanu visited the site. After reviewing the progress, the actor asked Marcus to join him for lunch. "I'm working on a new project," Keanu explained once they were seated at a nearby diner. "A film about ordinary people who change others' lives through small acts of integrity. And I'd like your permission to base one of the characters on you." Marcus nearly choked on his water. "Me? I just returned a wallet." Keanu shook his head. "You did much more than that. You reminded me why integrity matters. Your story, your mother's story, it's exactly what this film is about." The project, Keanu explained, had become deeply personal to him. He wanted to produce and direct it himself, focusing not on grand heroic gestures, but on the quiet moments of choice that define character. The wallet incident won't be in it directly, Keanu assured him. Your privacy is important, but the essence of what happened, a man choosing integrity when no one is watching, and how that creates a ripple effect, that's the heart of the story. When Marcus asked why this particular project mattered so much to him, Keanu was quiet. For a moment. I've been in this industry a long time, he finally said. I've played heroes in many films, but real heroism isn't what we see in movies. It's what you did. Choosing right when wrong would have been easier. It's what your mother did, raising you alone, teaching you values that matter. Those are the stories I want to tell now. 2 years after that rainy night at the 14th Street subway station, Marcus sat beside his mother at a private screening of Keanu's new film, Invisible Acts. The character inspired by Marcus, played by an up-and-coming actor, wasn't a construction worker, but a teacher who made a similar choice with similar consequences. The film was powerful in its simplicity, focusing on how small acts of integrity created ripples that changed multiple lives. Critics would later call it Keanu's most mature work as a director, praising its authenticity and emotional depth. What the critics and audiences never knew was the true story that had inspired it. How a lost wallet had connected two men from different worlds and started a chain reaction of compassion. After the screening, at a small gathering of those involved with the film and the foundation, Keanu raised a glass. To the choices we make when no one is watching, he said, nodding toward Marcus and Maria. They define us more than the ones we make in the spotlight. Later that evening, as Maria chatted with some of the actors, Keanu pulled Marcus aside. The foundation is expanding, he said. We're opening offices in 5 more cities next year. I'd like you to oversee the construction and renovation division nationally. The offer was beyond anything Marcus could have imagined for himself 3 years earlier. I don't know what to say, Marcus admitted. Say yes, Keanu replied with a small smile. You've earned it. As they stood there in a moment of quiet amid the celebration, Marcus thought about how differently things might have turned out if he'd made another choice that night in the subway. You know, he said, my mom always told me that character is defined by what you do when no one is watching. But I've learned something else these past few years. What's that? Keanu asked. Sometimes when you do the right thing even though no one is watching, someone important might be watching after all. Keanu nodded, understanding the deeper meaning. And sometimes the most important person watching is yourself. As the night ended and Marcus helped his healthy, smiling mother into a taxi, he looked back at the venue where lives had been changed, not through grand gestures or public charity, but through quiet choices made with integrity. The story of returning Keanu Reeves' wallet would never make headlines. The foundation's work continued largely out of the public eye. The real story of connection, compassion, and character remained private, known only to those who had lived it. And perhaps that was the most valuable lesson of all, that the most meaningful changes in our lives often begin with the smallest choices, made not for recognition or reward, but simply because they're right.